You ready?
Well, I'm ready. Well, I'll wait for Sherry to come back. So, who's here?
This
Dog.
it's
No, I mean, it's okay. I'm just surprised because every time I've been here, you have more people. That's all.
They usually show up later, but
Oh, okay.
there are some people here. They're outside.
Oh, cool. Well, that's right.
There's like 4 or 5 performers out there. That's Kevin North.
Kevin, right. It's Kevin.
Yeah. All right. You ready?
Well, I'm going to wait for Sherry to come back. Oh, yeah, no, do whatever you want to do. Remember, we're broadcasting to an audience. I know. But I'm not going to be on the mic. We're going to do one song, but I'm going to do a few more songs on my show. Yeah, it's part of my presentation. So I can move this mic out of the way, right?
Yeah. I'm going to use it for my speaker.
Sure. Oh. Make sure there's a crowd here.
Well, it's for the radio.
I don't care. You still have it on online? It sounds familiar. Sorry. It might get from your wife. The host. Where's this one? I don't know. You just come with taste. You're like the host. That's how the official your name on some calendar.
Is this Mothner Rust then, Frank?
Yes.
Kind of reminds me of Fairport.
They were deeply influenced by it.
Wait, when did Mothner
Our audience is here.
form?
Well, it depends, because we had a different name for like 10 years.
Okay, when
Here,
did,
concrete.
when did
You
you
know, I mean, it was Davis Machina before.
Oh, you're talking about the band, right?
Okay, when did they form as Deus Machina?
Mid-90s.
Yeah, Fairport wasn't around way before you guys.
kidding. Don't you get my joke ever? Like Joyce.
Sorry, I'm a very, very
I have to
serious.
put a sign on it.
Frank, you're so
Joke.
dry. You're so dry.
Yeah, and I'm a very, very serious Capricorn.
Okay.
Well, that was Moth Nor Rust, the source of Fairport Convention's melange of psychedelic, folk, rock, and electronic.
Yeah.
They're mostly known for being the origin of Fairport Convention style. That's our main claim to fame.
What?
And, actually, I've never even heard of Fairport. I'm sure they're good.
Yeah.
I'm sure I've heard them.
Their second album's a treat.
Yeah.
They had Richard Thompson, you know.
No, I can see
Oh
what.
yeah, he's great.
Some of this stuff has like. I can see.
Yeah, well, it's okay to sound sort of like,
You didn't know what they were.
and you know, and
Yeah,
it
they
doesn't
were-
really matter.
They first were known as the English Jefferson Airplane, but then they went all folky.
Right. So they went back. I've known a few people that have gone,
Great band.
that have profoundly respected the evolutionary process, but they got on the
Yeah,
escalator in the wrong
I love this
direction,
song, Richard Thompson.
and they went back. Not gonna name
Oh, she
names,
was great, but she was sort of fun.
because I'm not the kind of man who can remember dates.
You're right. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But it is my distinct pleasure to introduce one of my longtime comrades and best friends, Jeffrey Pond, who's going to be the feature tonight, and he's going to do excerpts from his upcoming production, Only Drunk in San Francisco.
I'm always
Drunk in San Francisco, and other things too. Let's hear it for Jeffrey Pond. Just put it out of the way.
He doesn't. This is an open mic, but I'm not using a mic. And as he mentioned, I'm doing these excerpts from a play or a show I'm producing that's about San Francisco, a tribute to the culture of San Francisco. And it's going to be at the Shelton Theater across town on Sutter Street, starting January 20th for 5 weeks. So anyway, so I'm just going to do probably about 20.
And when is it going to be? When does it start?
It starts January 20th. Friday, Saturdays, and Sunday nights for 5 weeks through February 19th.
At the Shelton
Shelton
Theater.
Theater on Sutter, 533 Sutter.
Right.
Half a block from Powell. Take a cable car, have a San Francisco night, you know. Anyway, so the pieces I'm doing tonight, well, the first is I'm going to do a monologue that I wrote about kind of culture, history of San Francisco, a little bit of the regular history, followed by a piece by Gary Camilla, who's a local writer. He writes for the Chronicle, writes about San Francisco, wrote a great book, which he allowed me to take excerpts from, called Cool Gray City of Love. So I'm going to do a little bit of that. And then I'm going to do my main piece, it's a thing by H.L. Mencken, about an event that took place. It was now known as the Bill Graham Civic Auditorium, way back when it first opened. And I'm going to start off with the title song of this show. I'm always drunk in San Francisco. I always stay out of my mind. But if you've been to San Francisco, they say that things like this go on all the time. It never happens nowhere else. Maybe it's the air. Can't ever seem to help myself. And once more, I don't care. I'm always drunk in San Francisco. I'm never feeling any pain. But tell me, why does San Francisco, just like a lover's kiss, go straight to my brain? I guess it's just the mood I'm in that acts like alcohol. Because I'm drunk in San Francisco, you better believe I stay stoned in San Francisco. I'm always drunk in San Francisco, and I don't drink at all. Thank you. Thank you. So San Francisco, I just love it here. The beauty, of course, and the weather, the food, the Giants. As always next year. And the history, well-known and obscure. I mean, it's amazing. Think about it. How many new international cities exploded on the world map, like San Francisco? Yeah, it had been a little-known settlement called Yerba Buena, but in 1849, when gold was discovered, it was the place to go. It was as far west as you could go, on the edge of the continent, attracting dreamers, life explorers, and folks who are just running away. I mean, how many cities are known throughout history by so many different names? There's Gold City, the Golden City, the Golden Gate, the city that knows how, Baghdad by the Bay, Fog City, Shaky Town, the city by the bay, and well, grudgingly known mostly by tourists as Frisco, or more recently here, San Fran. But of course, by anyone who's lived here for a while, it's simply known as the city. How many cities are known for eras? Well, if not decades. In the beginning, of course, the 49ers brought the whole world here to the famous, or infamous Barbary Coast. I mean, San Francisco was the unofficial capital of the Wild West. Yeehaw! Next, it was unfortunately known for the worst disaster ever to happen to a major world city, the earthquake and fire of 1906. But then, during Prohibition, the wettest city in the West. And the noir years of the 20s and 30s, made famous by Dashiell Hammett. Later, the Fillmore district. It's the Harlem of the West, the Renaissance of jazz changed music forever. And then World War II's jumping off point to the Pacific. As a young soldier hanging out in San Francisco, this might have been their last taste of freedom. Crazy fun! Before being shipped to the Pacific hell. Some of them never to return to San Francisco for their trip home. Well, the 50s brought the beats. Jack Kerouac, Allen Ginsberg, Michael McClure, Gary Snyder, so many other great poets, writers, painters, sculptors. It was another Renaissance wave, that's for sure. Followed by one of the most important decades in history, the 60s, with the anti-war hippie movement, Summer of Love, introducing psychedelic music to the world, along with some of the greatest bands of all time. Jefferson Airplane, and of course the legendary Grateful Dead, and one of the greatest singers that I ever saw, the late great Janis Joplin, along with Big Brother and the Holy Company. Well, those 2 decades alone changed world culture. Well, the 1970s kicked open the closet door of the Castro district, the large gay, lesbian communities, along with the music of disco with Sylvester, and then a little later, the thriving punk scene. You know, the rebellious children of the beats and hippies. It was a life-changing time for me. I was co-producing punk rock shows at the Temple Beautiful, 1839 Geary Boulevard, smack dab in the middle of the historic block. On one side is the legendary Fillmore Auditorium, where I spent my youth, and on the other, the People's Temple. Well, the late 70s, early 80s brought a dark fame to the city. The People's Temple suicides, the murders of Harvey Milk, Mayor George Moscone. and also a presidential assassination attempt in front of the St. Francis Hotel. And worst of all, the AIDS epidemic. Well, by the mid-1980s, San Francisco needed to laugh. And in a cultural sense, things got much lighter. For San Francisco was known as the capital of comedy. A comedy club on every corner. I mean, comedy was always serious art in San Francisco. From Mark Twain's first humor lectures to, a comedy gold rush in the 1950s in North Beach with the brave and anarchistic Lenny Bruce, and the political humor, Mort Saul, and, till the 1980s with the political humor with Will Durst, and of course, Robin Williams. Well, the 90s and thousands finds it as the capital of world technology. Well, it's changed the city in so many ways. Well, in a San Francisco cultural sense, made it a lot harder to be a starving artist or arts organization. I have an old friend who living here, who worked at the Magic Theater as a sound designer. He worked at the Exploratorium. He's a great musician, fellow bandmate. The last I heard, he's like living in the back of sleeping in the back of a car in a garage in Washington State. And another person I know lives in his van. He used to own his own art space. He's a painter, artist, sculptor, musician, and theater provider. And unfortunately, he's living out by the Safeway. He's parking lot next to the beach. And I don't mean to laugh. This is a personal thing.
I heard he smells bad too.
But we won't mention any names, Brinker. I'm a little off script here. So, anyways, getting back to the history of San Francisco. The first human beings probably arrived about 13,000 years ago. But these earliest San Franciscans left no traces. The oldest skeleton found in the city is that of a female unearthed during excavation at the Civic Center BART station, 1969, dating to about 5,000 years ago. Well, much of the terrain was scrub brush, although groves of live oak, California buckeye, bay laurel trees grew in a rectangle running from the southern border of San Francisco halfway through the city. Huge sand dunes carried down from the Sierra by vast rivers and deposited on the coastline had begun to cover the western part of the city, blown by the wind. The strangeness of this landscape would have paled in comparison to the animals that inhabited it. Across the wide, grassy plain, now covered by the bay, roam vast herds of enormous beasts. Huge Columbian mammoths rumbled along next to gigantic mastodons. Hundreds of giant bison, weighing 2 tons, standing more than 8 feet high, headed through the Golden Gate. Western camels, antelope, deer, elk, possibly moose, made their way across the plain. Tapirs and ground sloths, the size of oxen, lurked in nearby forests. Well, these grazing herd animals were stalked by the most terrifying mammalian killing machines ever to walk the earth. At the top of the food chain was the short-faced bear, standing 13 feet tall, and weighing 2 tons. The short-faced bear was the largest, most powerful carnivore ever to live in North America, able to run an astonishing 40 miles an hour up to a mile, and more rapacious than modern bears. An estimated 450 short-faced bears inhabited the Bay Area. It was joined by saber-toothed cats, grizzly brown bears, dire wolves. Oh, even jaguars, which existed as far north as San Francisco. till the 1820s. And if an animal was wounded, giant condors with 12-foot wingspans sailed overhead, waiting to pounce. End of that lecture. And moving on to the next piece. This is the one that I mentioned that took place at the Milgram Civic Auditorium way back when, and it'll explain everything. And since we just got done with this nightmare election, this goes back to kind of simpler times of election. And so it goes something like this. Take wine, women, and song, and plenty of #1 victuals, the belch and bellow of oratory, a balmy but stimulating climate. And it must be obvious that you have a dose with a very powerful kick in it. Well, this precisely was the dose that made the Democratic National Convention of 1920, holding in San Francisco, the most charming in American annals. The whole population shared in the credit for it. But chief praise went justly to the Honorable James Rolfe, Jr., mayor of the town. He was a man of bold imagination. But more than anyone else, he was responsible for the humane and enlightened entertainment of the delegates. Well, the heart of that entertainment was a carload of bourbon whiskey. Old, mellow, the best that money could buy. Well, the persons who go to Democratic conventions seldom cease at wet goods. The general rule is to feed them the worst obtainable, and at the highest prices they can be swindled into paying. It is assumed they'll drink anything, provided only it have enough kick. Well, Prohibition had gone into force only 5 months before the convention was scheduled to meet, and the Democrats arrived in San Francisco full of miserable forebodings. They feared that the San Francisco booticians, abandoning all reason, would proceed to paint remover and sheep dip. Well, what a surprise awaited them. Well, the moment they got to their hotels, they were waited on by small committees of refined ladies and asked to state their desires. Well, the majority at the start were so suspicious they kicked the ladies out. They feared entrapment by what were then still called revenuers. But the bolder fellows took a chance, and a few hours later, the glad word was everywhere. Or no matter what a delegate ordered, he got bourbon. But it was bourbon in the very first chop. Oh, crap. I just forgot something. He came. Yes, anybody got a glass? Sorry.
What kind of glass?
Just a glass. Got my whole. Damn it.
Improvise. Pretend you've got one.
Yeah. Anyway. Came in quart bottles and there was no bill attached. Shot glass. Woo-hoo! The weather. A series of days, so sunshiny and caressing. Another was the hall in which the convention was held. A new city auditorium, so beautiful that the assembled politicos felt like sailors born in the best bordellos of Paris. Downstairs in the spacious basement, there were lunch counters offering the whole repertory of West Coast delicacies at cut-rate prices. But under it all, of course, lay the soothing, pharmacological effects of Jim Rolfe's incomparable bourbon. The effects of that bourbon were so wondrous. Well, bourbon had a positively therapeutic effect and cured them of whatever they were suffering from when they got to town. The climax came on June 30th. It was the loveliest day of the whole fortnight, with a cloudless sky, softest whisper of a breeze from the Pacific. As the delegates sat there in their places, listening to the speeches, they could look out of the open door of the hall to the Golden Gate. Oh, and it was at San Francisco in 1920 that the first lady delegates appeared at the Democratic National Convention. Well, the first delegate, the earliest bird amongst these delegates, was a Mrs. Fitzgerald of Massachusetts. As she appeared on the platform, the band leader let go with, "Oh, you beautiful doll, you great big beautiful doll." and Lyle Fitzgerald's remarks were received with delirious enthusiasm. Huzzah, huzzah, huzzah! But it was not the ladies, however, who made top score, but the Honorable Al Smith of New York. Well, Al, in those days, was by no means the national celebrity that he was to become later, so the band swung into On the Sidewalks of New York. Well, by the time the band got to the second stanza, someone in a gallery began to sing. But the effect of that singing was electrical. In 10 seconds, 100 other voices had joined in, and in a minute, the whole audience was bellowing the familiar words. Well, the band played 6 or 8 stanzas, and then switched to Little Annie Rooney and the Bowery, and then to Maggie Murphy's home. The singing was unprecedented in national conventions. Well, the first delegate who grabbed the lady Politico and began to prance up the aisle was full of it. And so, for all I know, was the lady Politico. But they were joined quickly by others, and 10 minutes, Al was forgotten. The convention was in recess, and a ball was in progress. Oh, not many of the delegates, of course, were equal to actual waltzing, but in next to no time, a brown rule was evolved, which admitted any kind of accordion that would fit into the music. Dun da da dun dun da dun da da dun da. So the action took on for a while, and then old Joe Robinson brought it to order. And after a while, he gave up. And then a young man named Franklin D. Roosevelt got up to second Al's nomination. Well, the bosses of the convention made plans the next morning to bring the proceedings to a close on Saturday. The delegates simply refused to agree. Their veins still bulged and glowed with Jim Roth's bourbon. But the supply of it seemed to be unlimited. Day by day, hour by hour, the ladies' committee produced more. Thus Thursday passed in happy abandon. And then Friday. Well, on Saturday, somebody proposed boldly that the convention adjourn over the weekend. And the motion was carried by a vote of 998 to 26. Well, that afternoon, the delegates, each packing a liberal supply of bourbon, entered into taxicabs and set out to see what was over the horizon. Well, San Francisco was perfect, but they sweated for new worlds, new adventures. Well, on the Monday following, some of them were roped by the police in places more than 100 miles away. I myself awoke on Sunday morning on the beach at Half Moon Bay. But that was caused not by Jim Rolfe's bourbon. I have another bottle in my pocket. But the poet George Sterling's Grappo, kind of brandy, distilled from California grapeskins with the addition of strychnine. Well, after the delegates went home, the Methodists of San Francisco got wind of the bourbon and started a noisy public inquiry into its provenance. But Jim Rolfe, who was a very dignified man, let them roar on without deigning to notice them. As a result, he was re-elected and remained in office until 1931. And in that year, he was promoted by the appreciative people of all California to the highest place within their gift. And there he remained until his lamented death in 1934. Thank you. As I said, I have this coat that I left in the car we were rushing, and they got these other bottles that I pull out. Sorry. No, I'm just saying. So that gives you an idea, and if you come to the show, it's going to be a totally different. We got sound design, light design, it's a real theater. I think it's really going to be cool. And there's another half hour. I got some Mark Twain, Jack Kerouac describing the night at the Sixth Gallery Poetry Reading, where Ginsberg read Howl, his eyewitness account, and another couple of Gary Camille pieces. So if anybody's interested, we got cards here. So.
Right.
Thanks, Frank.
Let's hear it again for Jeffrey Pond.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for getting my cup.
And hearing those stories reminds me of something.
You want that? Oh, okay. Sure.
There was a theater in this town called Omni Circus for 25 years. And one of the funnest things we used to do was we would have Jeffrey pretend to be a homeless guy, and he would be parked outside with rags on on the sidewalk, and just like drinking and stuff. And then everyone would pass him. He would make them uncomfortable. He might like try to beg money up and stuff. And then we would be doing our show, very elaborate shows with robots and a band, and this big audience with balcony, 2-layered audience. And then he would make a huge noise and bust in the place
At a predetermined time.
at a predetermined time, but it would be so realistic because he would angrily push past the door person, and then he would denounce the audience as yuppies and fools, and then get up on the stage with us and pretend to be completely interrupting the show. And often a audience member would try to, milkily talk him down and talk him into leaving, and I would sometimes have to take invariably her aside and say, "Don't worry, just relax, I'll deal with it." And then everyone would say, "What are you gonna do?" And he would say, "Just let me do one song, and I'll leave you guys alone." And then I would ask the audience, "Should we let him do a song?" And they would, of course, always agree because it's San Francisco. And then
And we would do.
and then we would break into the song.
Well, we did different. Well, actually, no, we would do. He wrote a great song about homeless situation.
All right, don't look away.
No. We're telling you all this stuff. You'd like to hear.
But yeah,
We were there. You had to be here.
No, we're
point is-
enjoying it.
the point is that as soon as we would go into the song,
Yeah.
they would realize that we were doing it together. And
Yeah.
obviously,
Oh, that's true. Sorry.
we knew the song, so they were, and I knew it, so people
Right.
realized that he was part of the show. But anyway,
Men's new and used.
yeah, Men's New Year's.
Frank wrote a great song about this.
This isn't that, by the way. This
No.
is a different song.
What's the name of this one?
It's called Breach.
This
Breach,
is Breach
Baby.
Baby. Breach Baby. Look at me,
He an old burnt tree. Look at me. He an old burnt tree. Twiddly-dee.
said it twiddly-dee. He
An old burnt tree.
an
Old burnt tree. Old burnt tree. Twiddly-dee. 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 An old burnt tree. An old burnt tree. Twiddly-dee. Look at he an old burnt tree. Look at he an old burnt tree. Twiddly-dee.
said it
Twiddly-dee.
an
Old burnt tree. Old burnt tree. Old burnt tree. Twiddly-dee. 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 Old burnt tree. Old burnt tree. Twiddly-dee.
Well, Bridge baby, go on home, Bridge baby. I said, go on home, can't you hear me, Bridge baby? I said, go on home, Bridge baby. I had me a beer and I started making faces. Dropped the beer. It cracked made it faces, so I put it out. Trash man take away. I had no doubt it'd be gone by noon that day. 4 hours later, I went outside to check. I ain't trying to rate her. She was getting in from the rag. She was looking yourself and best man sex. Is it for sale? Anticipate the need. Said you're looking pale for a miniature's meat. Get some cash at 11 o'clock tonight. I'll be your honey if you make the horse right. So I drink another beer and I'm sorry to make you face. I smash the beer again and it cracked in many places. Rachel, baby, go on home, Rachel, baby. I said, go on home. Catch your name with Rachel, baby. I said, go on home.
Look at we went over tree. Look at we went over tree. Twiddly-dee. I said a twiddly-dee. Over tree. Over tree, over tree. Twiddly-dee, 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 over tree. Over tree. Twiddly-dee. Thanks.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
That's Frank's song. Great.
Excellent. Great song.
Yeah.
Is that from back in the day?
Yeah.
Excellent. Great.
Back in the day.
And our next performer is Joey. Joey,
Yeah.
are you here?
Yes.
Come on up, Joey. Let's all hear it for Joey.
That was awesome.
Oh.
I was
Test.
a history student, and I used to be a history-related tour guide, but not here. And you gave me all this great stuff I love about the city.
Well, please come and grab
Yeah,
it.
is this it?
Yeah.
I do some shows at the Sheldon Theater also, but
Oh.
upstairs at the Unscripted Theater.
All right. I see their
Live
name.
stuff. Yeah.
Great.
So that was
Give me a
great.
card.
Okay. Hello. I promised someone I would try to go out and a little bit out of my comfort zone and read this poem about my grandmother who passed away a few years ago. And one of my strongest memories of my grandmother was her hands, her knuckles and her feet. Just they had like knots in them, and her skin was so thin. I used to ask her when I was really young, like, "What's wrong with your skin?" And then as my mother got older, I saw that she has the exact same skin on her hand, and it's like you could see through it. So that was like the memory I had. My grandmother, as I was flying to her funeral, and I wrote this poem about her life. She was born in Virginia. She's one of 7 kids. I think the rest will make sense. So this is called Roots of the Crepe Myrtle Tree. Covered over with a beautiful blotched parchment, my grandmother's hands and feet knotted like the roots of the crepe myrtle tree we climbed, one of 7 branches springing from Danville's soil. Roots fashioned by a young widow, formed by a global depression, solidified in a great war, life-giving, wandering, laboring roots. Their character would remain over time as social fabric faded. Love-giving roots sprung 3 branches of their own, nurtured them for 6 decades. Treasures of her branch children, boxed, filled, framed, a constant theme. Consistent, patient, life-giving roots, shoring up finances, coaxing first steps, calming in the tempest, and filling heaven's vaults with prayers. Feeding 50,000 meals around the same rickety table, providing a roof until the end. Root straining loss of siblings and friends, root shocking departures of a partner and 2 children to dampen this love force only for a moment. Time, nature's only tool to stop it. and now these roots return to the soil. Her wandering bunion feet carried her yonder. She used to say that word a lot. Out of Virginia, over Manhattan's pavement, stumbling onto a bus, stumbling into love, landing in Laurel, transferring to Hattiesburg, settling in Jackson. Pacing, moving, tiny feet walked Europe's cobblestones, worked the Dodge pedals to California and back, carried her across North State Street, tucked under the pews of Woodland Hills Baptist Church. Cracked Avalon's leaves as she raked them into piles and dented footprints in Cherry Stone's carpet. The motion has come to rest, and now these feet will take her home. Conscientious, knotty hands labored for a lifetime. Strong enough to discipline children, soft enough to hold, wrapping Sears toys, pressing the keys of the state's calculators, feeding, cleaning, working hands would be honored for their yield. Pinning letters in her caring cursive angles, making early morning biscuits and bacon, resting on her right hip as she talked, mid-thought pinching at the corners of her mouth. Turning the sheets for 1,000 guests, thumbing the pages of 10,000 novels, these delicately diligent hands rest now on the end of my mother's arms. And now these hands take hold of her father's. Covered over with beautiful blotched parchment, my grandmother's hands and feet nodded like the roots of the crepe myrtle tree we climbed, one of 7 branches springing from Danville's soil. Thank you. Do I have time to sing a song?
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah, of course.
I'm gonna put the words.
Unless
here.
it's
Oh, sure, go ahead.
unless it's over 40 minutes long.
Oh, I'll keep it shorter.
Oh, okay. Then yes.
Let's see how this works. I think we can do it. You have a capo?
I don't have a capo, but I have a cable for your computer to go into the amplifier. Do you have backing tracks on the computer?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. I'm trying to remember the words to this
Oh, you have the words on your computer.
Yeah. Let me see if I can remember. Let's see. That's an F. Let's give it a shot, yeah?
Sure, yeah.
A love-struck Romeo sings the streets a serenade, laying everybody low. Got a love song that he made. He finds a convenient street light and he steps out in the shade and he says something like, that's the F again. You and me, babe, how about it? Juliet says, hey, it's Romeo. He nearly give me a heart attack. Yeah, well, he's underneath my window now. She's singing, hey, Lila, my boyfriend's back. You should have come around here and seen up to people like that. Oh, anyway, what you gonna do about it? The suspense. Juliet, the dice were loaded from the start, and I'm there, and you exploded into my heart, and I forget the movie song. One day you're gonna realize it was just the time wrong, Julie. Bear with me. Both come up on different streets. They were both the streets of shame. You know that both dirty, both mean. Yes, and even the dreams were the same. Well, I dream your dream for you, and now your dream is real. So you look at me and tell me, so tell me, honey. Now how can you look at me as if I was just another one of your deals? And you can fall the chains of silver, and you can fall for chains of gold. You know you fall for pretty strangers and the promises they hold. You promise me everything, and then you promise me thick and thin, and now you just turn away and say, Romeo, I think I used to have a scene with him. Oh, Juliet, we did love you surprise. You said I'll love you like the stars above. I'm gonna love you till I die. There's a place for us. You know this song, and now one day you're gonna realize it's just the time was wrong. Julie, so in love, so in love, yeah. I can't do the talk like they do it on my TV screen. I can't do the love song, and not the way you sung it to me. I can't do anything I would, do anything for you. I can't do anything except be in love with you. Yeah, now all I do is miss you, and the way it used to be. And all I do is keep the beat. I keep bad, bad company. All I do is kiss you through the bars of this rhyme, Julie. I do the stars with you anytime, oh Julie. Love struck Romeo, sings the streets a serenade, laying everybody low. He's got a love song that he made. He finds a convenient street light, he steps out in the shade and says something like, you and me, babe, how about it?
I've got the notes to read if I'm on.
Right.
Okay, let's hear it for Joey. Let's hear it for Joey. Come on, let's hear it for Joey. Yeah, let's hear it for Joey. Anyone? So now our next performer is Sherry.
Yeah.
Let's hear it for Sherry.
Yeah.
Unlike the others, I'm 57 and pretty much the first time I've read anything of mine. But here it goes. It's a little story I wrote, and the name of it is Flower Day. Daisy was excited about Flower Day. Flower Day was held once a year for all the flowers to get together and celebrate being flowers. She was a young Daisy, and this would be her first Flower Day. She arrived early and watched as all the other flowers arrived. There were red roses, yellow tulips, pink carnations, white lilies, and all the rest. She had never seen so many flowers, or smelled such pretty smells, or felt so proud to be a Daisy. Daisy found herself standing beside a group of beautiful long-stemmed flowers. Rose said, I heard the florist say, I'm being sent to the governor's mansion. Lily said, The mayor visited our garden this week. Iris said, I'll be entering the flower show at the palace on Tuesday. Bessie just had a new calf yesterday, said Daisy. The group of flowers ruffled their petals and bent over on their long stems to look down at the short-stemmed daisy. And who, might we ask, are you? Said Lily. I'm Daisy, and this is my first flower day, said Daisy. What are you doing here? Said Iris. Well, I'm a flower, and it's flower day, said Daisy. But flower day is for cultivated flowers, said Rose. What are cultivated flowers? Asked Daisy. Cultivated flowers live in lovely gardens and homes. We have long stems and we smell pretty, said Lily. Iris chimes in, yes, we are exquisite, and the most expensive perfumes are made from our fragrance. But what about daisies? Asked Daisy. Daisies are the most common of flowers. They have short stems and they don't smell nice. They would never make perfume from the smell of a daisy, said Lily. Rose says, imagine daisy for perfume. They all laugh. The narrator tells us Daisy bowed her petals and walked away. Daisy bowed her petals and walked away. She went back to her field and cried. Mother Nature heard her crying and came to see what was wrong. What's wrong, Daisy? Asked Mother Nature. Daisy says, I went to Flower Day and found out I don't belong there. Mother Nature. Who told you that? Daisy. The cultivated flowers. Mother Nature, why did you name me a common flower and not a cultivated flower? Daisy, there's no such thing as a common flower, said Mother Nature. Daisy, there's not? Mother Nature, no. And do you know what a cultivated flower is, Daisy? Yes, they have long stems and they smell nice. Mother Nature, no. Cultivated means they live pent up in pots. They're not free like you. Daisy, you mean they can't grow where they want? Mother Nature, no, they grow only where man plants them. Daisy, man? You mean those big animals who are happy or sad, depending on whether my petals say she loves me or she loves me not? That's them, says Mother Nature. Daisy, you mean the cultivated flowers are dependent on those fickle creatures? Yep, says Mother Nature. Daisy, gosh, I didn't know how lucky I was to be out here with you and Bessie and the other daisies. Mother Nature, Daisy dear, would you like a shower after your long day? Yes, ma'am. I'll take a light sprinkle, please.
Flowers, yes.
Hey, let's hear it for Sherry Ransom.
Even the flowers in class. Thank you, Sherry.
The next performer is one of our favorites, and he was absent for a while because of his injury, and we're lucky that he was not even killed because it was a very dangerous accident. But now he's back, And we are all very happy and pleased to welcome Mr. Kevin North to the stage. Here, Kevin North.
Cheers, thank you.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
I got another 2 degrees in pronation this week.
Oh,
Yeah,
excellent, excellent.
so I'm going to play something that's easy. Alright, so round about all those gigs you went to when you were a kid. Singing songs of freedom, riding on the train, pushing to the market in the rain, yeah. Oh, what kept turning, we kept on learning. The bands were great, I'm glad I came. I still remember down on Commercial Street, the warm welcome from the people you meet. Just like Sacred. In a bid for glory was our life story, yes it was. Some people have come and some remain. In a bid for glory was our life story, yes it was. Some places have gone, but some remain. No ragtag warriors, it's King's Road and proud. Policemen raided us 'cause we play too loud. Wankers. In a bid for glory was our life story, yes it was. Some places have got some money. Yeah, in a bid for glory was our life story, yes it was. Some people have gone, but some remain. Hey, last summer I went over have a laugh. I went to Wales. I don't know if you've ever been to Wales, but it rains a lot. So we had to do a song about it. If you ever go to Wales, you want to go in the summer, but you've got to plan it because this year it's on a Tuesday. Then to discover a place like no other, somewhere I really have been. Yeah, hills and the valleys and the sky that carries somewhere way beyond dreams. Whoa, I could be anywhere. I could be anywhere, it's true. Here with you. I stop complaining about all the rain. What's the point? I can't make it stop. Yeah, it's part of the history along with the mystery. Climb up, wander to the top. Past all the quarries and all of the stories of men before the lost. Battle the escape, mine was the day job. Now that's a terrible lot. Whoa, I could be anywhere. I could be anywhere, it's crew. Here we go. Yeah. Oh yeah. I could be anywhere. I could be anywhere, it's true. Here with you. Hard to believe in, hard to believe in. But in the meantime, brains takes me to heaven. Yeah, and then when I'm sober, this trip is over. Midnight run across 7. Whoa, I could be anywhere. I could be anywhere, it's true. Here with you.
Kevin, you can play for a half an hour. I mean, honestly, there's no limit. We have time.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for your patience. I was getting better, aren't you?
Yeah, great. You got metal in it, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna set off the alarm at the airport.
Metal here. Okay. So I'm planning for 2, so there we go.
Alright.
Have you ever had a ride in a light blue car? Have you ever stopped to think who's a slave and who's a master? Have you ever had trouble with your automobile? Have you ever stopped to push, 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 push? Oh, trouble. Mama's sitting very busy at the weekend. Liquor polishing the beat beams into shape. Then it's proudly up the M1, M2 and M3. Keep your feet off the upholstery, Ronnie. Car trouble. Hello, here I am. You don't need anything after an ice cream. I used to sit at home and be in one day while all the reference of polishing the crow. While all the mamas and the sisters and the babies sit and write home. Car trouble, oh yeah. Go! You don't need anything after an ice cream. Car trouble.
Let's hear it again for Kevin North.
Yeah.
So,
Yes!
let's hear it for the kids also.
Recognition!
The babies are hearing it. The babies are hearing it. Yeah!
James, are you ready?
Oh, a bit early, but I suppose.
Guess what? Are you guys going to perform? All right. Let's hear it for James Conrad. Yay.
I guess I'll just do a song that was written by an acquaintance of my late Uncle Tony, who also was in a band with this guy. This guy's name was Lou Reed. Yeah, my Uncle Tony was in a band with Lou Reed pre-Velvets and actually did name the Velvet Underground. True story. It's called What Goes On. Actually, Kevin, you have your guitar?
Yeah, I'm detuned on that.
Never mind. I'll just.
It's over in Bob.
Sorry about that. Would have loved to have you play along, but yeah, this is called What Goes On. What goes on in my mind? Baby, I think I'm upside down. What goes on in your heart? I think that I have fallen down. Lady, be good, do what you should. You know it'll be alright. Baby, good, do what you should. You know it'll work alright. I'm going up, I'm going down, I'm going round from side to side. See the bells up in the sky. Somebody's cut the string too. Lady, be good, do what you should. You know it'll be alright. Baby, good, do what you should. You know it'll work alright. I'm going up, I'm going down, I'm going round from side to side. See the bells up in the sky. Just cut the string too. Lady, be good, do what you should. You know it'll work alright. Lady, be good, do what you should. You know it'll work alright. What goes on in your heart? I think that I'm falling down. Lady, be good, do what you should. You know it'll work alright. Lady, be good, do what you should. You know it'll be alright.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very good. Let's hear it again for James Conrad.
Oh, no, I'm trying to be helpful.
Oh, no, you're fine. You're fine. I actually enjoyed it. I'm glad I was able to give you something to feed off.
My favorite form of non-distraction is the explanation of how undistracting one was in the middle of a show. All right, so we are in fact still doing a show. Let's hear it again for everybody who performed here. And let's hear it again for the Sacred Grounds Coffee House. One of the finest open mics ever to appear at Sacred Grounds. And since we have a few more minutes, I'm going to do a final piece. Do you have a song you want to do? I'm going to do a final piece.
All right.
From the chair there. And I'm going to turn the camera around. And I'm going to ask everyone's indulgence to try to pay attention. Do your best. Just do your best. That's all any man
Go
can
for
ask.
it.
Just do your best to pay attention. And focus on what I am about to say. Because there are some, really, when you think about it logically, there's either a Martian invasion, which is parked on the other side of the moon, it's going to come down and kill all the puppies in the world if you don't listen to what I'm about to say, or there isn't.
Yeah.
And either of those two options is astounding when you think about it. So either way, there's really no excuse not to listen to what I'm about to say. Unless you just don't want to.
We want to.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm hearing it. I'm feeling it.
Yeah.
I'm almost convinced.
Well, we'll convince you.
All right. Well, when they applaud before I start, it's always an act of faith. When they applaud during my speech, it's an act of hope. And when they applaud at the end, it's, of course, an act of charity.
I thought you were going to say of Thanksgiving. Sorry.
He was
I'm a closet comedian.
He was, perhaps, forgivingly and understandably riddled with phobias and fears, but he was a man. Not just any man, but a man's man. An extraordinary man, a man among men, a big man, a very big man, not in measurable quanta, like the size, shape, or length, rumored to be comparable to a rather large pencil eraser, but in the ineffable affability of his fundamentally kind beingness. He was not, perhaps, a duly anointed citizen of the gay nation. Thus was whispered once about him that no dick will pass between his lips. Yet still, he was a true genius of the first water, as they say in Scotland. Absolutely bedrippingly besotted with a gut-wrenching stench of genius. So talented that he'd never seen the limits of his own genius. So talented that his attempts to call out into the polished, walled cave of existence to hear the echoing reflection of the measurable limits of his own genius were thusly and duly thwarted. So talented that everyone hated him and was jealous. So talented that he even hated himself and was jealous. So smart that Mensa joined him. He laughs an incredibly irritating and insane laugh. Then swivels in his chair, and for the first time we see that it is him talking about himself. Yet he walked among men and was hungry and drank the water and ate the Milky Ways and bathed in the cheese whiz. Both delicious products, please note, for product placement purposes. As I sit in the cafe on Mumble Street where I do my writing, I am being bombarded with threatening phone texts from a quote artist I had an appointment with earlier today. He flaked, then admitted that he was standing in front of our door when he texted me some BS about his sick mom. He chickened out and wasted our time. And later he confessed all of this, so I told him to never contact me again, and he started his obsessive pre-stalking behavior. Apparently the spoiled rich posers in this town think it is their right to waste my time, and if I object, they get angry. He wanted to engage me as his babysitter, therapist, daddy, mentor, and I am a man of principle. I won't be anyone's daddy unless they have a great singing voice and a pretty face. That's pretty as in floating about a foot above some hefty tits that look a lot like the Taj Mahal. I'm not gay, thanks, and the proof is that when I close my eyes and imagine Daniel naked, as always happens when I close my eyes, I am not turned on at all. I'm so straight the thought of my own penis being in the room is enough to keep me from getting hard. But that's another story.
Yeah. This turned weird
Lighting
somehow.
change. You think?
Don't stop it.
You think?
I don't want to stop him at all. No, keep going.
So I put an ad on Craigslist for singers. It's always in there. You can go home tonight and find it and respond and waste my time with your own crappy audition if you like. I have held literally hundreds of singer auditions, and I can say that you would not believe how many people think they can sing who can't even hack through a major scale, much less a song. Sometimes I think the goddess who rules the universe has put an ad on Craigslist under the heading, Waste Frank's Time! Get 75 virgins in heaven! And of course she never tells them that the only virgins left are nerdy, fat male computer programmers who live in their mom's basement. But I usually get a good singer about once a year and a great one perhaps every 5 years. Until the magic flow started in 1999, suddenly there was genius after genius singer presenting to me for 3 solid years, and some even fucked me, and 2 pretended to want a life with me, a life of art and love. And if you know me, you know that my fundamental equation is art times love equals life. Now, I can't tell the whole story of those magic years because I have many other projects to make, Diet Cokes to drink, and singers to audition. So I will focus on one of the most amazing birds of paradise I ever intercepted in mid-flight, the one I easily put on my level as a musical artist, Crystal Pixel.
Oh.
Now keep in mind that I am spoiled. I worked with Diaphanous Tremble for something close to 2 decades, and she was, is, and will always be the best. But she moved to London, and anyway, she's often riding on the horse, and so filled with lighter fluid that she might explode any time. And she is hugely temperamental, such that I can't stand being in the same room with her until she leaves. Then I can't stand not being in the same room with her. Or making music without her. Damn her to fucking hell. She's so self-loathing, she won't even fuck me. Despite the fact that she's totally not in love with me. So I should be safe to fuck, according to her strict rules of non-engagement. Diaphanous Tremble will always be the standard by which I measure female voices. And female dysfunction. This is especially good for people that know who I'm talking about.
I know.
And I never expected to meet another singer close to that good at either of these fine arts. And then came the knock at the door. Man knocks under the table to make the knocking sound. And then, if I can actually get a fucking collaborator on this, a woman will knock on the door. I open the door. She stood there taller than me by 3 inches, dressed like a New Age burner princess. Then her flowing mesmera gown swept past me into my darkness, and nothing was ever the same. Hi, Frank. I'm Crystal. So this is Omni Circus. Fabulous, cool. I've heard so much about you. It's an honor to meet you. What do you want me to sing? I studied the songs you sent me. How about The Day I Die? So she nailed the audition and the 2 diaphanous tremble songs I had emailed her, backing tracks for, and she nailed the scales, intervals, and modes, and she said yes. Yes! To my invite to go to a Burning Man rave at NASA Ames Air Force Base that weekend. And she made an appointment to record, and her hair was a flaming horn of plenty, and she was the missing piece. The DTRM, or Diaphanous Tremble Replacement Module, as I used to call my new singers until they failed to measure up in any of the myriad ways singers can fail to measure up, such as pretending to fall in love with me and failing to pretend to fall in love with me. And she was amazingly beautiful and genius talented and virtuosic and married to a fucking PhD in Renaissance philosophy. For Christ's sakes.
You can't make this shit up.
You can't make this shit up.
No,
It turned out
he's got to be making some of it.
it turned
No,
out
he's
not
not.
one word yet
He's not.
is a fable.
Okay,
No.
where are you gonna admit that Jack Kerouac helped you write this?
Oh, no,
No, no.
No, listen.
It turned out that he was like 4 feet tall and she would usually carry him around in her purse. But she left him home that day. Actually, she only brought him to our shows so he could see, feel, and intuit that I was fucking his wife and go quietly insane without being able to do anything about it. Sadism was just a hobby for her, though. It made her feel something. She loved to feel things as long as she didn't have to invest any emotion. I'd love to go with you, Frank. Thanks. I'll see if my husband, Mateus, can come with us. He might even have another commitment. He's